Hi everyone. This week we're going to be talking about typography. Typography is the art of setting type or letters to effectively deliver a message. Now, most of us set type every day and we don't realize what we're doing if we're using Microsoft Word or other products because they kind of make it easy for us to look okay, at least decent in terms of a document we might be preparing. And we're all probably familiar with different things such as font size and line spacing, margins, etc. on a simple single piece of paper that you might have to turn in for an English class or a history project that you're writing. However, what graphic designers know is that type can be much more powerful if you take some liberties and think outside the Microsoft Word margins and settings to creatively set type to add emphasis. So while there are many facets of typography, this particular video is going to focus on creating interest in your type. So I'll share with you that this week I got a hasty message from one of the vice presidents of the college and the president that they needed a poster for a faculty activity. And because I'm already involved with the initiative, I kind of was the person that they could ask easily to get it done. I executed the project using Adobe InDesign, but I'm going to try to replicate for you what I ended up doing to set type for this project, and I'll let you see the finished project when we're done here. But for our purposes, I'm going to use a presentation tool because you can accomplish almost the same effects here. So let's pretend that I am to create a poster for a wall in a room where a bunch of faculty from MJC will be gathered trying to explore how to put their curriculum together in new ways. Now, one of the things that goes along with this particular audience is that many of them are overachievers and they're very, very passionate and particular about what they do in the classroom. So this message has been emphasized again and again by leaders on the campus that as we try something very new in curriculum at community colleges, we don't have to go about it with anxiety that it might not be exactly right. So the president keeps saying, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. So just try, basically. So how do you create a poster with a positive message? Now, this gets the message across, but it could be more fun. So this is how I want you to look at every assignment or every typesetting endeavor is, how can I use my type to more powerfully convey my message? So what I realized when I was doing this is that this single line here, it doesn't have to be perfect. Well, it's one sentence. There's a couple contrasting messages. What do we want to emphasize? So what I'm going to do is take out perfect. I'm going to cut perfect. I use Control X to cut perfect out. And I'm going to just double click on the slide to say paste. And you keep source formatting. It automatically defaulted to a smaller size. So I'm going to click keep source formatting. And I'm actually going to do something by changing the slide layout. I find that when the slide is being too prescriptive about what I need to do, that I just want to go to a blank slide, which doesn't make me have to conform to some preconceived ideas PowerPoint might have about what I'm doing. I kind of like to wing it. So what I found here is that I wanted to look at what types were available on my system. And so I'm going to go up here to the fonts. My computer's a little slow. And what did I want to find? Now I'm thinking this is just a very friendly activity. Century Schoolbook seemed to like it might be something that would be very nice to use. And I'm looking to emphasize the word perfect. And what am I thinking about? I have a very anxious audience about an activity. Do I want something that's dramatic like this? That's not what I'm going for. And besides, the other thing when looking at fonts is you want to think, have I seen that font a lot of places? Let me tell you, when I was in college and typesetting at the computer was just becoming popular, you started seeing fonts getting used over and over again because everybody had the same set. So you'd be walking, I remember walking through some like roadside fast food stop in New York City and seeing, oh, that's Tecton. So you want to have some degree of escapism. You don't want people to be able to look at it and feel tired of the font that they're seeing. This font I know I've seen before, Algerian. So I'm going to go down and I'm just going to quickly show you what I ended up doing. And I used Cooper Black. because to me this sort of emphasized the activity. And I put a period and it auto-corrected me, but I don't want it to do that. So I'll just say P, leave it there. And this font might not quite be there. But the other thing that you want to know about setting type is that when you bring normal typefaces up to a larger size, for example, when we look at paper, we're looking at usually a 12 or an 11-point font. And when you see it at that small size, it's got wider spacing between the letters, the kerning. Okay, kerning, when you're dealing with the bigwig programs like Illustrator and InDesign, the industry calls it kerning. However, in Microsoft PowerPoint, they call it something different. So I have to know all these things as someone who uses all these tools. So I'm going to go up to the Format menu, which unfortunately you can't see, and I'm going to click on the Font options. And I'm going to go to Font, and I'm going to go to Character Spacing, and I'm going to condense it. And let's just have a look. Okay, so let's see. I don't know that it condensed all of it. So Format, Font, and character spacing, condensed. Notice that it didn't show anything here. That means that it wasn't applied to the whole selected set that I have. That's saying it's got probably 2 different values set to it. So I'm going to say condensed. Makes it a little bit tighter. Okay, I'm going to delete that period because that doesn't belong there. And I am going to bring my font size down. Let's just say down to 28. I want it to be about 2/3 of what it is, just for the sake of humor. And I'm going to align it to the right part of typesetting. And there we go. Now we have different proportions going on. So let me make this bigger. I'm just going to call this, maybe there's very different settings from what I used. And I'm going to make this bigger and call this 40. And notice that my period snapped over. So typesetting explores the different ways that you can use type to make something look good. And this is a little bit of what I came up with. Now, what you want to be aware of when you're setting type is that you look at your baseline. This line along where the text sits, for the most part, is called the baseline. Whenever you're setting type, you want to be very aware of the baseline of your text. And I'm just going to nudge this down a little bit. I could use a guide to help me set that. Guides, let's see if it'll let me add one. View guides. I'm going to move this little guy down because I want to see. And if we zoom in on this a little bit, when you're setting type, what you also want to know is that not all letters sit in the same way on your text. I don't know if you can see that blue line, but bear in mind that curved letters sit a little bit below the baseline, but you want to look at the serifs, meaning the little feet on your letters. We're going to pause here and split to a new video. I've got a time limit on what I can record for these.